lesson 3 point slope formula. The formula is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so what we're going to do on these first 4 is we're going to write it using this formula. So we're going to write an equation of the line using point slope formula that has a slope of 1/2 and passes through the point -6, -4. I'm sorry, -6, 4. So here's what we know on this particular problem. We know that the slope is the same thing as m, and we know that this is x and this is y. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in these numbers. Now, if you want, you can just start every problem. We're going to fill in a number there. And then we're going to fill in our numbers. Our y1 was 4. Our m was 1/2. And our x1 was -6. Now, from here on out, basically what we're going to say is whatever the number is for the x and the y, we're just going to do the opposite of it. So here you see how this is a positive 4. Well, it became a negative. And then the -6, well, when you have two negatives next to each other, it basically turns into a positive. So we're essentially doing the opposite of whatever that value is. So since it was a positive 4, we put in a -4. Since it was a -4, we put in a positive 4. And the slope is going to stay the same. Okay, so for this next one, this time we're given a table. Well, we need to find its slope. And we could do it by hand, but now's a good time to remind y'all of how to use stat. So stat, enter. I'm going to type in these values. So all those go into L1 and all the y's go into L2. So now we're going to press stat over 4. We're going to enter 5 times. And as you can see, our slope is -2. So our m in this case is -2. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the first point. We could use any point, but we're going to use the first point that's on the table. So we're going to use that as y1, I'm sorry, x1 and y1. So now we're going to plug it into this formula. So y, remember we're going to take the opposite value for y, keep the slope, and then we're going to do the opposite value of x. And then that's our answer. Alright. Letter C. We're going to do the same thing. This time we're going to use the labeled point. And our labeled point is 1, 5. So this is x1, y1. But we need the slope. So I'm just going to pick 2 points on this graph. And I'm going to find out what the slope is. As you can tell, the slope is going up, so it is positive. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2. So our slope is 4/2, which really just reduces down to 2. So now we're going to use this formula. So all we're going to do is substitute. And remember, we're going to take the opposite of the x and opposite of the y. So y minus 1 because it's a positive 1. I'm sorry, that should be 5 because we're taking the y value, equals our slope times x, and then the x1 is a positive 1, so we're going to write a negative 1. And there's our answer. Okay, and our next problem, we are going to use this formula again. Remember, this is called the point slope formula. I'm going to use my calculator to find the slope. So I'm going to press stat enter. My two x's are negative 2 and 2. I'm going to delete the 3 others that I don't need. My y's are negative 7 and 5. I'm going to delete the 3 I don't need. Stat over 4. My slope in this case is 3. So here my m is equal to 3. This is my x1 and my y1. So plugging in points, y minus, actually we're going to do a positive 7 because it's negative. Our slope is 3. X, and then we're taking the opposite of negative 2, which is positive 2. And there's our answer. Alright, letter E. The day a tree is planted in the ground, it is 20 centimeters tall. After this, the tree grows 2 centimeters every day. Write an equation in point slope form modeling the height of the tree in centimeters after a certain number of days. Okay, so here's what we know. We know on the very first day it was planted, it was 20 centimeters tall. So we're going to say on day 1, it was 20 centimeters. So we're going to say this is day, and this is the height. Okay, and now I'm going to take the 2 centimeters every day. Well, that's our slope. So our slope is 2. So now we're going to plug in to the formula once again. And this is not a formula that you have to have memorized because it is on your formula chart. Okay, so our y is 20. So we're going to put in a negative 20. Our slope is 1, so we're going to put it in a negative 1. And that's as far as it wants you to take it. Alright, very last problem. This time you're given a graph and it wants you to, you're given an equation and it wants you to graph. So here's the easiest part of this one. We know that this is our slope. So our m is equal to 3. Okay, we're going to take the opposite of this. So our opposite would be 2, positive. We're going to take the opposite of 4, which is negative 4. So this is our x1, y1. So our ordered pair is negative 4, 2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to plot this point first. So I'm going to go to 4, negative 4, 2. And now I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3 over 1. Or I could go down 1, 2, 3 over 1. And I can continue this pattern until I have no graph to do it anymore. Down 3 over 1. And then you connect the dots. And that is point slope form.